Darlene. Hello, welcome in. Hey, Leslie Marie. Hey, Palm. Hey, Karen. Hey, Judy. I had a good day, Penny. How was yours? Hang over there in YouTube. Hey, boss man. Hey, Tardak. Come in, Prince. We don't know Leslie Marie. Only the will of fate does. I'm curious to see what she will pick, though. Happy Friday. Hello, hello, hello. You know what? JB Booker, I am actually a ginger. I have red hair. I've also had blonde. So yeah, good question. If you go back and look at my older content, you'll see the blonde hair. And I think there were even a couple where I'm showing my natural ginger red. Oh yeah, yeah, I love being blonde. Oh yes, Bat Kitty, very, very much ginger. Let's start sharing the live. Friends, family, 5 friends, 10 friends, 15, 20. Well, hello there, Sierra. How are you, darling? Let me show you something. We have a nail fairy in our live. She made these for me. Look at these beauties. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at these. Look at that detail. Exquisite, exquisite work. I don't know if you were able to see the detail last night when I was telling the vampire story, but they are absolutely gorgeous. Welcome in, Sierra. Aren't they lovely? I don't know if you can really, but the detail is just incredible. Melanie. Let the will of fate decide the stories I tell tonight. What are you hoping it will pick? Oh, thank you. No, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. I still have itching right under here. Yeah. Now it's been a while since I did Serial Unalive. Tonight I went very gothic. I'm getting ready to show the gown that happens at approximately 8:10 because I should have a good amount of people in here now. So I'm gonna stand up and show it. Look at these sleeves. It has a velvet gown and top. This is brocade. I don't know if you can see it in the light. It also has the back, which is also corseted. And then I have the hood. Black. I think this is my favorite part. The sleeves. I'll be right back. Hello, Luna. Hello, Slay. Hey, Alabama. How are you? Good. 4 minutes. Absolutely, Alabama. Alabama. No possession? Oh, but Julia asked for possession, X. We are doing well. It is Friday night. We get to sleep in the morning, right? Hey, Delia. Morticia, yeah. Hey, Jennifer X. Hello, Alicia, Indiana Girl. Hey, Wendy. Hey, Ray-Bab. Let's bring it on down just a notch. Why, thank you, Ray-Bab. Welcome in, Night Dwellers. If this is your first time here, my name is Bryn Morgan. I am a horror author, and I love telling stories, creating stories. Here on Twisted Tales Live, I tell them all. True crime, serial unalivers, possession, aliens, urban legends, cryptids, Appalachian horror. You name it, I tell it. And tonight, I do not choose the story. The will of fate does, and she is quite eager to spin. For those of you who are just coming in, this is the Night Realm. I am the Night Queen, and it is story time. This is a warm, safe, loving, welcoming environment. There is no judgment here. I want you to come in for the next couple of hours and just enjoy yourself. Let the weight of the world just flow away. Feel it releasing from your fingertips, your shoulders, your neck, your whole body. Let it release. Thank you, Bella. Hello, Delana. This is the will of fate, and these are the story choices. Last Friday, the Wheel of Fate decided something completely different. It's quite partial to Stephen King, but it chose aliens and paranormal. So you never know what it's going to choose. But don't worry, regardless of what it lands on, it's going to be frightening. Are you ready to spin? Welcome in, Slay. Do you like scary stories? Here we go. Your following categories are Stephen King, Urban Legend, Possession, Aliens, Appalachian Horror, Short Story, True Crime, Paranormal, Cryptid, and Horror Movie. Let's get ready. Say spin in the comments if you're ready. Spin, spin, spin. True crime. It's been a while. True crime. All right, let's get ready for story time. Let me find my true crime soundtrack. The true crime story for tonight is the Hinterkaifeck murders. Tonight, we are going to Germany. But first, let's go into story time, shall we? Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle for ambiance or to chase the shadows away. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. The Hinterkaifeck Schmurders. Night Dwellers, welcome back to the darkest corner of existence. I am your Night Queen, and tonight I beckon you into the Night Realm, where nightmares are born, and the dead refuse to rest. Close your eyes, my faithful subjects, and let me transport you to a place where evil walked among the living, where screams echoed through empty halls, and where death came calling with a pickaxe in hand. Tonight we venture to a cursed farmstead in Bavaria, where 6 souls met their doom in the most brutal fashion imaginable. This is the tale of Hinterkaifeck, and I promise you, Night Dwellers, by the time our hour ends with this story, you'll never look at isolated farmhouses the same way again. The shadows are watching, the dead are listening, and somewhere in the darkness, the killer walks free. Let me show you a picture. Set the scene, if you will. Oh, that doesn't look creepy at all. Doesn't it? This is known as Germany's oldest unsolved true crime case. All 6 found dead. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. The Cursed Ground. Question: What evil lurks beneath the soil of a seemingly peaceful farm? In the heart of Bavaria, Germany, stands a plot of cursed earth where once sat the Hinterkaifeck farmstead. The year was 1922, and the Gruber family had no idea they were living their final days under a roof that would become synonymous with unspeakable horror. Andreas Gruber, a weathered farmer of 63, ruled over his domain with an iron fist. He was a strong man who had survived wars and hardships. His wife, Kazelia, 72, moved through their home like a ghost, even before death claimed her. Their widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, 35, had returned home with her children after her husband's death in the Great War. Little Kazelia, age 7, and baby Joseph, just 2 years old. But night dwellers, there was another soul in that house. Maria Baumgartner, their new maid, barely 44 years old. She'd arrived only hours before the nightmare began, replacing the previous maid who had fled in terror, claiming that the house was haunted. I can't stay here anymore. I just can't stay here anymore. The mistress of the house looked at her. Maria, what are you talking about? The house, it's haunted. Yes, it's haunted. I heard footsteps in the attic when no one is there. Voices in the walls. Something evil lives in your attic. How right she was, night dwellers. How right she was. How terrifyingly right Maria Baumgartner was. The Hinterkaifeck farm sat isolated, surrounded by a dark forest that seemed to whisper secrets to those brave enough to listen. The nearest neighbor was kilometers away, too far to hear screams, too far to notice when the lights went out forever. The mistress of the house talked to her husband. We need to get rid of her. She's talking silly things and she's going to end up scaring the children. What is she saying? She's saying that our house is haunted and that she hears things in the attic. Go check it. So he did. He went up to the attic, opened the door, and looked inside. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The children would go up and play in the attic all that often, and so if they were able to go up there, then surely nothing was wrong, right? Chapter 2, Signs of a Possible Stalker. I wonder, how long had death been watching from the shadows? For months before the massacre, Andreas Gruber had noticed things that made his blood run cold and his hands shake as he gripped his morning coffee. He would see footprints in the snow, fresh ones, leading down from the forest edge across his property. But here's what chilled him to the bone, night dwellers. The footprints did not lead into the woods. They led to the house. But there were no footprints leading away. He began to investigate it after the second maid left. The footprints led to the house, but there were no footprints leading away. It was as if someone was walking to his house and never leaving. Cecilia, he told his wife one February morning, his voice trembling. I don't believe that the house is haunted. However, I do believe that someone is coming in while we are sleeping and staying the night. Someone's coming in our house and sleeping? She said. Yes, it looks like they go right up to the house, right to our door, but there's nothing going back. I do hope that you are imagining things, old man, she replied, but her hand shook as she poured his coffee. But Andreas was not imagining anything. He had found a strange newspaper on his property, one he had never purchased. Tools had been moved in his barn, in particular, an axe. He had to go into town and buy another one to chop wood. Where was the old axe? He questioned his grandkids. 7-year-old Cecilia said, Grampy, I would never pull up an axe. And the little boy, who was only 2, there's no way that he did it. A set of keys had vanished from their usual hook by the kitchen door, only to reappear days later in a completely different location. The fireplace mantel, to be exact. Who messed with the keys to my truck? No one has messed with them, Andreas. Don't accuse the children. The previous maid, Maria Paperi, had lasted only 6 months before she, too, decided to leave. She fled in the day of night. And why are you leaving? Because there's someone in the attic, she sobbed. What's in the attic? Nothing is there. Yes, it is. Night, I hear the stairs creak, and something comes in my room. It only stands there, like a shadow, but it looks like a man. Heavy footsteps, pacing back and forth, like a caged animal. But the scariest part, it's holding a weapon. What? Yes, when it's standing in my room, one night the moonlight was shining in, and I saw it in his hand. An axe. And night dwellers, the most terrifying detail of all, Andreas had checked the attic multiple times after the 2 maids left. It was empty, always empty, except for a pallet of blankets, which Andreas just assumed that the grandchildren would take up there and play with, making tents, perhaps. And then they began to hear it. footsteps, night after night. Andreas would sneak up and look, but there was nothing to be found. The shadow had been watching, waiting, living in their home like a parasite, feeding off their fear before he finally decided to feast on their blood. Chapter 3, The Last Supper. Friday, March the 31st, 1922. The last day the Gruber family would ever see the sun rise and set. There was a new maid. Her name was Martha Filton, and she had arrived that very afternoon, carrying her simple belongings and a heart full of hope for steady work. She was single. She was called a spinster. She was fine with that. She didn't want to be with a man after the way her father had beat her for so many years. But she had no idea that she was walking into her tomb. Victoria stepped out on the front porch, stern, her black hair tied back in a severe bun, showing off her high cheekbones and piercing blue eyes. The snow had just begun to fall. Welcome to Hinterkaifeck. Here, let me help you with your bags. Oh, thank you, ma'am. You will be staying in the room just below the attic. We're so glad that you're here because the last girl, well, she had quite an imagination. Do you believe in things that go bump in the night? No, I don't. Good. Maria smiled as the older woman turned away and walked into the house. Well, come on with you then. But as she entered the house, something made her crawl. Her skin crawled terribly. The shadows seemed too deep. The silence too complete. As she unpacked in the maid's quarters, a tiny room with one twin bed and a candle on a table, she could have sworn she heard movement above her, slow, deliberate footsteps in the attic. That evening, the family gathered for what would be their final meal together. It was a meager supper of potatoes and chicken and biscuits. Andreas sat at the head of the table, his weathered hands clasped in prayer. He kept looking at the young maid. She was quite pretty. Cecilia served a simple fare: the bread, the chicken, and the potatoes. Little Cecilia chattered about her day at school, while baby Joseph gurgled in his high chair. I thought that after this is over, we could sit down and listen to something on the radio as a family. But then they heard a creak. They didn't want to say anything to chase the new maid away. But A child always has a way of speaking up at the most inopportune moments. Papa? Little Cazelia asked. Why is the ceiling making noises? It's not. Uh-huh. It's making it right now. It's right over there. The maid looked at her. Noises? Yeah, we have someone that walks upstairs at night in the attic, but he never shows his face. Andrea's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. What are you talking about, Lipbean? That was his nickname for her. The noises, Papa. You know, the creaks. Like someone walking back and forth. Are there mice in the attic? Is that what's causing the creaks? The adults exchanged glances. Maria felt her blood turn to ice water, though for why she wasn't sure. It was just a little 7-year-old girl. You know what? Maria said. When I was little, I used to hear creaks in the house too. It's just a house settling. That's all. Andreas was grateful for the pretty young maid explaining things to his granddaughter. Yes, that's exactly what she said. Nothing more than the house settling. But his eyes kept drifting to the ceiling above. Night dwellers, as they ate their last meal, death was literally over their heads. The shadow was there in the attic, listening to their every word, planning their destruction with the patience of a predator who knows his prey cannot escape. After dinner, the family retired to their rooms. Maria said her prayers and then put her long red hair into a braid and climbed into bed, pulling the covers tight around her throat. She had no idea that within hours those same covers would be soaked with her blood. Chapter 4, Midnight Harvest. A clock struck midnight on March the 31st, 1922. All was quiet at the Hinterkaifeck house. But not for long. The shadow emerged from its hiding place, like a demon rising from hell. He had been patient, so patient, living in their attic for weeks, maybe months, learning their routines, watching them sleep, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. His weapon of choice, a mattock, a farming tool with a sharp blade on one end and a pick on the other, heavy enough to crush skulls, sharp enough to cleave flesh from bone. Andreas was likely the first to die, because he was the man of the house, and the shadow did not want competition. Andreas likely heard something, a creak on the stairs, a whisper in the darkness. The old farmer would have probably investigated, climbed out of the bed. Perhaps his wife woke up. What is it? I hear something. Go back to sleep. He heard the creak on the stairs again. Another whisper. This old farmer would have investigated, brave fool that he was. He probably grabbed his lantern and stepped into the hallway, calling out, "Who's there? Who's in my house?" And the answer was with steel and malice. The Matlock came down with the force of pure hatred. Andreas' skull cracked open like an eggshell, his cry of pain and terror echoing through the house for only a moment before death claimed him. But the killer wasn't finished. Oh no, night dwellers, the shadow was just getting started. One by one, he moved through the house like the angel of death himself. Kazelia, the elderly grandmother, lay in her bed, her eyes wide open. She had heard something in the hallway. Their room was toward the back of the house, so she didn't hear all. But she heard something, thumping, pounding, a moan. She lay in the bed and heard footsteps approaching down the hallway. Oh, thank God. Andreas? The door slowly creaked open. It was so dark that she could barely see her hand in front of her face. Andreas, why are you just standing there? The shadow began to come into the room, walking slowly. Why was he walking toward her side of the bed? Why wasn't he getting in his zone? And then, just at that moment, moonlight shone through the window, illuminating the shadow. It wasn't Andreas, poor dear wife. No, it was him. Please, she might have whispered. Please don't hurt me. The moonlight lit up the weapon at his side. But mercy was not on the menu that night. The Matlock fell again, painting the walls red and ending 72 years of life in one single savage blow. The shadow was methodical, night dwellers, efficient. He moved like a man who had planned this moment for months, savoring each life he stole. Chapter 5, The Children's Hour. Little Kazelia, only 7 years old, was likely awakened by the sounds of slaughter. Imagine, if you will, night dwellers, a child's confusion, as she heard strange voices in the night? Did she call out for her mother? Did she slip from her bed with bare feet on cold floorboards? Oh, little girl, you should have hid under the bed or in the closet toward the far back so the shadow could not find you. Unfortunately, Zazelia went out into the hallway. Mommy? Mommy? Is that you? She saw a figure standing at the far end of the hallway, head down, looking. Mommy? And then the figure turned. She would have looked at the shadow with wide, innocent eyes, not understanding why this stranger was in her house. And why did he hold such a terrible weapon? Mama? Grampy? Mama? He began to walk down the hallway toward her at that point, and descended with the same brutal efficiency as Grumpy and Mama. A child's skull is thinner than an adult's, Night Dwellers, and the killer knew this. He used just enough force to ensure that she was unalived, but not so much as to say he wanted to preserve for some semblance of humanity for what came next. 3 down, 3 more to go. Two-year-old Joseph, sleeping in his crib. The poor baby never had a chance to understand what was happening to him. The killer then left the nursery. Four down, 2 more to go. Maria Baumgartner and Victoria Gabriel were still alive, Night Dwellers, still breathing, still capable of screaming. The shadow had saved them for last, and his reasons will haunt you long after tonight's tale is told. Chapter 6, The Maid's Final Prayer. Maria Baumgartner woke to the sound of her own screaming. Not literally, Night Dwellers, but to this kind of silence that makes you want to scream. The heavy, oppressive quiet that follows a mass unaliving. Something woke her. She sat up in bed, her heart hammering against her ribs. Something was wrong. Terribly, terribly wrong. The house felt empty. No, not empty, hollow, like the life had been sucked out of it. She climbed out of the bed, walked across the floor, opened her bedroom door, walked out onto the landing and looked down the steps. Hello? Hello? Is anyone there? The floorboards creaked in the hallway downstairs. Slow, deliberate footsteps. But these weren't the familiar shuffled footsteps of Andreas checking on the livestock, or Victoria coming upstairs to check on the children. These footsteps belonged to death itself. Maria's door opened slowly behind her, and she froze, like the mouth of hell yawning wide. And in the doorway behind her stood a figure, tall, imposing, covered in blood that looked like black in the moonlight. He had been in her room the entire time. The matlock in his hands dripped with the life essence of the Gruber family. Another creak, another step. Maria slowly turned and saw him. Please, she whispered, pressing herself against the wall. Please, I just arrived today. I don't know anything. I haven't seen anything. The shadow tilted his head, studying her like a scientist examines a specimen. He stepped into the room again and closed the door behind him with a soft click that sounded like the closing of a coffin lid. She stood, terrified to move. Why did he shut the door and leave her in the hallway? Maria began to pray as she went down the steps slowly. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. She made it to the downstairs, and what she saw illuminated in the moonlight terrified her. She bent down to try to touch the lifeless body. And then she heard it, a whistling sound behind her, which was the matlock through the air. 5 down, 1 to go. The shadow stood over her body, breathing heavily, his work almost complete. But there was one more soul to claim, one more life to steal. Victoria Gabriel, the young mother, still drew breath somewhere in this house, and he intended to make her death special. Chapter 7, The Mother's Torment. Victoria Gabriel, number 6, was not asleep when the shadow came for her. She had been awake for hours, hiding in the barn, having heard the first screams in the house. You see, night dwellers, Victoria was not in the house when the massacre began. She had gone to the barn to check on a sick cow, and from there, she heard it all. Every scream, every plea for mercy, every sickening thud of the mattock finding its mark. She crouched in the hay, her hand pressed over her mouth to settle her own sobs, as she listened to the family die one by one, by one, by one, by one. First, her father's cry of surprise and pain, then her mother's scream of terror, then the silence that followed her daughter's unaliving. Her children, her babies gone. The shadow knew that she was there. He had planned this, night dwellers. He wanted her to hear. He wanted her to know what was coming. He wanted her to marinate in terror until he was ready to finish what he had started. For what felt like hours, Victoria waited in the barn, tears streaming down her face, praying that somehow, some way, she might escape. She could hear him moving through the house, doing things, unspeakable things. Finally, the barn door creaked open. Moonlight spilled across the hay, and there he stood, this angel of death, this harvester of souls. His clothes were soaked in the blood of her family, his eyes empty of all humanity. And then he approached. "I saved you for last," he said, his voice calm and conversational. "I wanted you to understand what you've lost, what I've taken from you. Why?" Victoria whispered. "Why did you unalive my children? They were innocent." The killer smiled, and night dwellers, that smile was more terrifying than any scream. "Because I could. Because I wanted to. Because your father thought he could keep me away from what was mine." The mattock rose one final time. Victoria Gabriel died not from the blow, but from the knowledge that her children had died afraid and alone, calling for a mother who could not save them. Why do you think that he did it, night dwellers? What do you think his reasoning was? Here's where our tale takes a turn that will call into your nightmares and make itself at home. The killer didn't leave after the massacre. Oh no, he stayed. He made himself comfortable among the corpses. For 3 days and nights, he lived in the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse with the bodies of his victims. He fed the livestock. He ate their food. He slept in their beds. He even used their fireplace to stay warm. The smoke from the chimney visible to neighbors who assumed all was well. Imagine, if you will, the scene inside that house. 6 bodies growing cold and stiff while their killer went about his daily routine as if nothing had happened. He cooked meals in the kitchen where blood still stained the walls. He read their newspapers by lamplight while corpses lay rotting in the next room. The neighbors noticed nothing amiss. Smoke from the chimneys suggested the family was home and everything was fine. The livestock were being cared for. Everything seemed normal. But night dwellers, nothing would ever be normal at Hinterkaifeck again. On April the 4th, 1922, the postman arrived with a delivery. When no one answered his knocks, he became suspicious. The mail was piling up, and that was unlike the punctual Andreas Gruber. Neighbors were summoned. They approached the house with growing dread, calling out for the family, but no answer came. But they could smell something wrong, something that made their stomachs turn and their blood run cold. They found the bodies in the barn first. Andreas, Kazilia, little Kazilia, and Victoria arranged like discarded dolls. Then they ventured into the house, following the stench of death and decay. Maria Baumgartner lay in her bed, her face frozen in a mask of terror, and baby Joseph was found in the nursery, his tiny form still and cold. But here's what made the investigators' blood freeze, night dwellers. The evidence that someone had been living there. Fresh food had been consumed. Beds had been slept in. The killer had made himself at home in his own private charnel house. The investigation into the Hinterkaifeck murders became a nightmare within a nightmare. The police arrived to find a crime scene that defied explanation and a killer who had vanished like smoke in the wind. Lead investigator George Ringberger stood in the blood-soaked house, his face pale as he surveyed the carnage. In 30 years of police work, he told his colleagues, I have never seen anything like this. This wasn't just murder, this was something else. The evidence painted a picture of calculated evil. The killer had used the family's own farm tool against them. He had lived among their corpses for days. He had even tended their livestock and fed himself from their pantry. But who was he? Where had he come from? Where had he gone? The investigation revealed disturbing facts. Andreas Gruber had been involved in a bitter legal dispute with his neighbors over property lines. He had also been accused of having an inappropriate relationship with his own daughter, Victoria, a scandal that had rocked the small community. Suspicion fell on several individuals. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a neighbor who had been involved in the property dispute, became the prime suspect. He had been seen near the farm on the day of the murders, and his behavior during the investigation was peculiar, to say the least. When the bodies were discovered, Schlittenbauer was among the first to arrive. But instead of slowly showing appropriate shock or horror, he had gone directly to Joseph's crib and picked up the child's body, cradling it with intimacy that disturbed the other witnesses. "That's my son," he whispered to the corpse. "That's my boy." You see, Night Dwellers, there were rumors that Joseph Schlittenbauer was actually Joseph's father, that he had been having an affair with Victoria Gabriel. Could jealousy and rage have driven him to this unthinkable act? The police thought so. They arrested him, interrogated him, built a case against him, but the evidence was circumstantial, and Schlittenbauer maintained his innocence. Eventually, he was released, and the case went ice cold. 100 years later, this unaliver's identity remains a mystery, but his presence still haunts the cursed ground. The Hinterkaifeck farmhouse was torn down in 1923. Night Dwellers. The authorities claimed it was for practical reasons. The structure was damaged. The land needed to be cleared, but the locals knew the truth. The house had to be destroyed because it had become a beacon of darkness, a gathering place for evil spirits. But you cannot destroy evil by tearing down its dwelling place. You cannot cleanse cursed ground with fire and timber. The malevolence that stalked the Gruber family, that lived among their corpses, that vanished without a trace, it remains. Local legends speak of strange occurrences on the land where Hinterkaifeck once stood. Visitors report hearing children's laughter carried on the wind, followed by screams that make their souls freeze. They see lights in the darkness where no light should be. Lanterns carried by the dead, no doubt, perhaps still searching for that shadow. Others have reported seeing a tall figure walking the property at night, carrying what appears to be a farming tool in his hand. He paces back and forth, as if reliving the night of his butchery for all eternity. The truth, Night Dwellers, is that some crimes are so heinous, so perfectly evil, that they tear holes in the fabric of reality itself. The Hinterkaifeck murders were not just the taking of 6 lives. They were the birth of a haunting that continues to this day. The unaliver was never caught. His identity remains unknown. He could have been a neighbor, a stranger, or something far worse. Something that wasn't quite human to begin with. But here's what I know, night dwellers. Evil like this doesn't simply disappear. It transforms. It adapts. It finds new ways to feed on fear and pain. Somewhere in the darkness, the spirit of the Hinterkaifeck killer still walks, still haunts, still dreams of Maddox and moonlight and the sweet sound of screams echoing through empty houses. And perhaps he's closer than we think. Perhaps he's been listening to our tale tonight, remembering the taste of blood and the thrill of the hunt. Perhaps he's already chosen his next victims, already begun his patient stalking. After all, night dwellers, the best predators are the ones who are never caught, the ones who slip away into legend, into nightmare, into the spaces between sleeping and waking, where monsters make their homes. The Hinterkaifeck killer has had a century to perfect his craft, a century to plan his return, a century to hunger for the sensation of splitting bone and silencing screams. The harvest moon is rising, and the Maddox thirst for victims once more. And that is true crime. Let's take a quick intermission, get you some popcorn, drinks, candy, whatever, glass of wine, and we will come back and the wheel will spin again. That was a creepy story, was it not? Hello, Jen Alicia. I am feeling pressure from this crown, so I'm going to put on one that is not as pressing. There we are. There we are. Mia, are you here? They never found out who did it. Never found out. It is a complete and total mystery. I wondered if perhaps it was like a jilted farmhand, perhaps that he had let go of. You know, I had thought about that possibility. We'll take a couple more minutes. Trying to get the spires in here. Those are the ones that are the most annoying to me, are the ones that you don't find out who did it. You've never heard a cryptid story? Really, Rebecca? I do know that story, Lulu. I told it back months ago, but I didn't give it what it needed because then I was doing much shorter stories. But I can go in and do that one again. Roger Clevinger, thank you for the follow. Roger, do you like scary stories? Hello over there in YouTube land. How is everyone doing? Leah Hickman. And I'm so glad to have you, Rebecca. So glad. We have some really good people. Alicia wants to hear Stephen King. Stephen King would be awesome. The Wheel of Fate has been known to pick Stephen quite a bit. Yeah, that was a good one. Welcome in to all the new names. Got your popcorn, Pastelina? Popcorn's popping, I can smell the butter. Make sure you put lots of butter on it. Suppression Squad 968, how are you? Hello, Callie. You love listening while cooking dinner. Oh, great. That's awesome. Hello, King of Pablo. Oh, well, thank you for the eye compliment. Gen X Alicia, thank you for the follow. What's so scary about that is that really does happen. That's, you know, that those are the ones that are truly terrifying to me, are the true crime. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm so glad, Alicia. We're glad you love it. We love having you here. All right, let's see what the Wheel of Fate has for the second story of the night. Here we go. There's so many good ones. No matter what it picks, it's going to be great. Here we go. Short story. Not quite Stephen King, but definitely on short story. Ooh, my eyes are creepy like this. Let me bring some light back in. Short story. And the short story is, I believe this is the one that gave me chills. I'm pretty sure. Oh God. Yeah. Yep. Short story. This is one that I wrote. And when I was writing it, it was absolutely terrifying. The name of this one is The Last Laugh. Be careful who you laugh at. Oh, okay, I got you, Alicia. So you're about to hear another one of my horror stories that I've written. This is a short one, but it is chilling. In fact, I remember when I was giving Julie, do you remember this? I was giving you the list, and I said, I am working on one right now that is absolutely giving me chills. So here we go. Yes. But first, let's go back into story mode. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Is that candle still lit? Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. and let's begin. Tonight, I bring you the voice of a woman who thought death was a joke until it stood in her yard. She was beautiful, bitter, and bored, with money in the bank and ice in her heart. She went to a carnival to kill time and left with a death sentence. Her name was Amberly, and this is the night she stopped laughing. I live in an old Victorian on the outskirts of Boston. It's been in my family since before the streetlights were gaslit. And the floors still groan like they remember every footstep. My friends say I'm lucky. High ceilings, stained glass windows, carved banisters, and trust fund comfort. But money doesn't keep you warm at night. Not after a breakup like mine. It was February, The river was frozen hard as granite, and every breath turned silver in the air. I'd been a recluse since Joshua and I had broke up. 3 years. He was a doctor. I was a trust fund baby. After the breakup, I was devastated. I thought it would be okay, but it hasn't been okay. It had been about a month. My friend Kimberly called me. "What you up to, girlfriend?" "Not much. It's a Friday night, you're 31, and you're in your house. That's not right. That's not normal. Be ready in 10 minutes. Kim, I don't want to go out. I'm tired. You're always tired. Listen, Joshua is gone. He's out of the picture. He's not coming back. Okay? Now you need to pull up your big girl panties and you need to come out with us. We're going somewhere special." "Where?" "A carnival." No. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that. Lights, hot cider, rides, candied apples. You used to love candied apples, Amberly, with the little peanuts. Come on. I didn't want to go. But sitting in that big empty house, listening to the radiators hiss like snakes, was worse. So I decided to shelve my black and white movie of Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn and go. So I went. Question: would you go out to a carnival in a freezing February Boston winter, or stay in your warm house alone? Chapter 2: The Psychic's Tent. We wandered past games and fried dough stands, the snow glowing orange under the carnival lights. That's when my friend saw it. It was this striped tent that was tucked between the carousel and the cider shack. I was freezing. A wooden sign swayed in the wind. Madame Vespera, Tarot, Palm, Fate. My friend squealed. Sarah was the main one. She was squealing so loud. "Oh, we've got to do this! We have got to do this!" I rolled my eyes. "You're not seriously into that stuff, are you, Sarah?" "I absolutely am. Now come on, it's fun." Inside, it smelled like incense and candle wax. Smelled cheap. Madame Vespera looked like she'd stepped out of another century, like out of some gypsy movie. Her silver hair was in a long braid, rings on every finger. She had the darkest eyes. Is it possible to have black eyes naturally? But they were like just black. I remember that. My friends paid her and she did their readings first, except for Sarah. Sarah wanted to do hers last. They leaned in and they were whispering and they were hanging on her every word. And I smirked because she was full of it. She was so full of it. She was telling Denise that there was going to be a love in her life and that he was going to be showing up in the next couple weeks and to look for a red handkerchief. And I remember I said, oh, please. When she wasn't looking, she was holding Denise's hand. And then she stopped. And her gaze slid to me. I held my own. I looked back at her. You think this is funny. I felt like I was on the spot. No. No, I don't. Oh, yes, you do. You do think it's funny. Move out of the way, she told Denise. I don't want a reading. She looked at me. Sarah gently pushed me on the shoulder. It's the least you can do after you just made fun of her. So I sat in the seat. Question. Would you hide your skepticism with someone like that? Or let it show? Chapter 3. She set down the cards. I felt bad for Denise, but it was as if this psychic could read my mind. She looked at her. I come back to you. I blinked. She reached across the table. She was seizing my hand with surprising strength. And I remember that her rings dug into my fingers. One particular ring, an amethyst, with a black band. It dug into my skin. You don't believe in this, do you? She said, her voice low and thick with an accent I couldn't place. I met her stare. No, I really don't. You would think I'm fake. Yeah, I do. My friends, I could hear them gasping around me in shock, but they shouldn't be shocked because I said what was on my mind without even thinking first. She took a long black veil and put it over her head. She grabbed my fingers tighter. Ow! Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. You may be an unbeliever now, but you will be a believer by tomorrow night. I laughed. Why did I laugh? Oh yeah? And exactly what is going to happen to me tomorrow night. She leaned closer, her breath warm and strange against my cheek. You're going to die. I had no words. She's just playing with you, Amberly. She's just playing with you. But I looked at the woman, at those dark black eyes, and I knew she wasn't playing. The tent went still. My friends froze. She released my hand slowly. I thought it was over. And then she said, not the day after, not a week from now, tomorrow, just before midnight, you are going to die. Question. Would you think that the old witch was playing a game with you? Or that it was real? Chapter 4. I shrugged it off. We left the tent. My friends rattled. I was pretending that I wasn't. What do you think about what she said? I think that is the creepiest crap I've ever heard in my life. Sarah spoke up. You don't laugh at a witch, especially a gypsy. You just don't do it. Okay, guys, it wasn't real. It was all an act. Miss Gypsy Nezra Bezra, whatever her name was, it's all an act, okay? I'm not dying. I am here, and I'm leaving. I'm going home. The snow was coming down that night. I drove down the street where all the Victorian mansions were, and I pulled into my driveway. And I saw something small. I peered through the snowy windshield. It was so cold that the snow was freezing on the windshield before I could even clear it. And I saw this little blonde girl in a white coat. She stood in the snow just beyond my front gate. The wind tossed her hair, but she didn't move. I rolled down the window. I couldn't remember seeing her. She didn't look like a neighbor's kid. Not that I really paid that much attention to children because, well, they annoyed me. That was one of the reasons that Joshua decided to leave, because I didn't want to be a mom. Not after the type of mom that I had. It was the last thing that I wanted. I rolled down my window. Hey, are you lost? She didn't answer. She looked like she was about 8 or 9. She just tilted her head and looked at me. And then she smiled. I opened the door and I got out. I almost fell wearing those stupid high boots of mine. And I started approaching her. My car lights were shining on her. My Victorian mansion in the background was completely dark. Hello? Hey, you shouldn't be out in this weather. And you shouldn't be trespassing on property either. The little girl just smiled. I tell you what, come climb in the car and I'll take you home. Where do you live? I turned around to walk back to the car, fully expecting this little girl to be following me, and When I looked back, she was gone. Just vanished into thin air. I told myself it was nothing, probably a neighbor's kid that was just wandering around. But I have to admit, after what that psychic said, it creeped me out a little bit. That and the girl. I locked my door, drove the rest of the way up the curb drive to my house. I parked the car. The wind was howling. And over the wind, I thought I heard a voice of a woman, the psychic. I could have swore she said I was going to die. Chapter 5. The next morning I woke up. Everything looks good. In the morning, everything looks better. I went downstairs. I made my cup of coffee, my bagel, as I always do. I had a party that was supposed to be that night, but I had no groceries, so I decided that I was going to get in the car and I was going to drive to the Stop and Shop and pick up a few things, some hors d'oeuvres. It was cold, so cold. I arrived at the Stop and Shop. The parking lot was packed. People were buying milk, bread, eggs. I went inside. I decided I was going to try to make a cheese ball. Strawberries were always popular. Fruits, cheeses, veggies, picked up some hummus. And I was putting the things in my cart. You know how you feel when someone's watching you? I felt it. I turned, and next to the chip aisle, I saw the little girl. Same little girl from the night before. Same white pea coat. Same blonde hair. Same black Mary Janes. She was just staring at me. I didn't see any parents with her. I didn't see a cart. I walked toward her. Hey, I see you made it in out of the snow last night. I was only trying to help. I hope I didn't scare you. She looked at me curiously, and she spoke this time. A whisper, but I heard it clear. You're gonna die tonight. What? You're gonna die tonight. What did you just say to me? You're gonna die tonight. She only smiled. And then she took off running. She was giggling. I chased after her, and I know I must have looked like an idiot when I was running through the store, but I was starting to get scared. Nothing really rattles me, but this did. Question. If a child walks up to you and declares that you are going to die that very night, would you call the police or think it was a prank? Chapter 6. Sarah called me. And she could hear something was wrong in my voice. So what a creepy vibe at that carnival last night. Well, obviously, it's not true. What's wrong, Am? You're being really quiet. I don't know. I'm just trying to get ready for this party tonight. Yeah, about that. You do know that they are calling for more snow. No, I hadn't watched the news. You might want to call it off until the weekend. Can I share something with you? Yeah, sure. I told Sarah what I had seen. The little girl at the end of my driveway the night before, and then seeing her again in the grocery store. She said, "What?" She said I was gonna die tonight. Okay. That's creepy. That's really, really creepy. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna try to go back to the carnival and really apologize to this psychic and tell her that, I'm just gonna ask her if she can remove whatever it is that's on me. You really believe that something is on you, Emily? I mean, I've been seeing things and hearing things, and I don't know, but I'm gonna go. Okay, just be careful. I dropped the groceries off at the house, and then I got back in the car and drove downtown to the carnival. All the rides were there. Everything was there, but it was like just covered in frost and icicles and everything. I made my way further down to where the tent was, and I didn't see it. I saw a worker there. Excuse me. Yeah, how can I help you, ma'am? I was here to see Madame Vespera. Who? Madame Vespera, the psychic that does the tarot readings and everything. Oh, she packed up, left last night. She was mad. About what? I don't know. She just said she was just cursing. Okay. The tent was gone. The sign was gone. Everything was pulled up. I went through the hours of that day. The wind howled off the river. It was about 6 p.m. and I poured a glass of wine, just trying to shake the unease. The stained glass in the front door rattled now and then. It was just a draft, though, I told myself. It was an old house. I walked to the kitchen and was pouring the rest of the wine into the sink. I looked out and I saw the girl again. This time she was sitting on a snow-covered bench in the backyard, looking right through the kitchen window at me. That was it. I wasn't putting up with this anymore. I grabbed my sweater, I opened the door, I walked down the steps and out into the backyard. And the girl was just sitting on the bench, just staring at me. I want you to leave my property now. It's almost time. I want you to leave right now. You only have a few more hours, Amberly. Use it wisely. I went back in the house. I locked every door, closed every curtain. 9 o'clock. I was walking down the hallway toward the bedroom to grab a blanket. There was this old grandfather clock that had been in my family for centuries. It was large, and there was a large glass panel on the front of it. As I was walking toward the bedroom, I saw the girl's reflection in the mirror of the clock. I turned quickly. She was just staring at me. I began to be really, really scared. It was as if she was getting closer. It seemed as if everything was amplified in the house. The floorboards seemed to creak under unseen steps. I checked the windows. They were all locked, but I still kept catching movement in the glass, like someone was walking just behind me. If you were seeing the ghost of a girl who was telling you that you were going to die tonight and was giving you updates, would you call a friend or face the night alone to see what unfolds? Chapter 7. I lit every lamp in the house. Shadows seemed to shift in the corners. My phone, I had no signal. The winter storm was coming in as predicted. The party was completely canceled. I did that at 1 o'clock in the evening, in the afternoon. It was 11:45. And I sat in the living room wrapped in a blanket, staring at the clock. 15 minutes. 15 minutes, and it'll be over. And then I heard a sound. Not the house settling, not the wind. I heard a deliberate, slow footstep on the porch. I froze. The stained glass in the door darkened. A tall shape blocking the light. Someone was at my front door. I went in the kitchen. I tried to call out on my phone again, but I couldn't get a reception. These dang, drafty old houses. Terrible signals. But then I finally got a signal. I called Sarah. Sarah? Sarah, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm here. What's wrong? What's wrong? Can I come stay over at your house tonight? You're gonna drive out in this? Yeah, I just don't want to be in this big old house alone. Yeah, Uh, sure, it was just a short distance, just down the road. She lived in an apartment, a set of new builds. I gathered my purse, my blanket, my keys, and my phone, and decided to go out the back entryway. The wind was whipping through the trees, through the branches. I hurried around the side of the house, away from the front door. I had to be careful because I know that I felt that someone was on my front porch, someone was near the front door. I continued walking. Finally, I unlocked my car and there was a loud beep beep. I got in the car, settled in, looked at my clock on the car. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. It's almost over. It's almost over. And then on the wind, I heard that voice again. You're gonna die tonight. I cranked the car and backed out of the driveway. It was dark. I hated how dark that the street were. The street lamps were so old and barely cast any light. I turned on the radio to hear the weather. If I could just make it to Sarah's house, everything was going to be fine. Everything was going to be just fine. Question: would you leave your house in the middle of a winter snowstorm because you don't feel safe? It was pitch dark except for the dashboard lighting up blue. 5 minutes. I had my hands on the wheel. He moved fast, gloved hand on my throat. Keep driving. I froze, and I tried to slightly turn, but then I felt something sharp poking me in my neck. Don't stop. I tried to look through the rearview mirror and all I saw was darkness. But I could hear the man's voice. I could feel his hand on my throat. I looked at the dashboard. 3 minutes. And then I heard the voice again. You're going to die tonight. He told me to drive to the outskirts of town, to an abandoned parking lot. It was dark. Two minutes. He told me not to move. He came around the side of the car, opened the driver's side. He pulled me out into the dark woods. 1 minute. He took my life. I lay there, looking up at the moon and the snow falling down on me, feeling that my life was slipping away. I wasn't in my body. And then I heard on the wind, "You should have never loved me." I shouldn't have laughed. That was the night I died. And that was the last laugh. Don't laugh at a psychic. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Glad you liked it. Glad you enjoyed it. Oh, I'm so glad. So, so glad. So I think the Wheel of Fate chose wisely, don't you? Thank you. Thank you. When I was writing that story, it actually scared me. So awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm glad. I hope I kept you on the edge of your seat. I did, Angie. I did. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, I believe that it has been a really nice night for the Wheel of Fate. You're welcome. You are most welcome. I've had it on the wheel now for what, probably 3 weeks, Julie, I would say. And I am a writer, yes. So I have published The Haunting of Hastings House, The Haunting of Keller Estates. I am working on Blood in the Snow. That's going to be a fun one to go back in and rewrite. And now I am working on The Crimson Queen. And then I also have the third one in the back of my mind of The Haunting of Doucette Hole. And then I'm also working on writing Cherry Hill. The list just goes on and on and on. But like this brain will not shut down. But Sunday night is subscribers chat only night. Everyone can come in. Subscribers are the only ones chatting. It's going to be a really good night. Oh, Oh, I can get a lot darker than that. A whole lot. I find time for you because you are my family. Oh, good, Rebecca. Have you gotten to the scary, scary part yet? I just go where my mind takes me. Sometimes it takes me down a very dark um, paths, but the work, the books become um, something that is just very authentic to who I am. Love you, Alicia. Yes, ma'am. I've written so many short stories. I would have to go back into my archives and find them. I've been writing since I was 9. Oh, I love that. That's a compliment right there. I love that. I will take it. Okay, Rebecca. Okay. Yeah, that's scary. Thank you. Take your time and enjoy it, Rebecca. So I will be going in tonight and unlocking the Blood in the Snow live, the Crimson Queen from last night, and I'm gonna be doing that. My nose is itchy. So glad that you enjoyed it. All right. Hector Atkinson, you are looking for a witch. Did you find one? Ah, yes, I am a busy, busy queen. All right, everyone. Well, this Night Queen is tired and she is ready to drift off to her crypt. Well, first to have a bite of food and then to drift off to her crypt. But be here on Sunday night. If you want to join in the chat, hit that subscribe button and we're going to have a good time. Good night, Bad Kitty. Love you, Pastelina. Good night, Hector. I love you all. I'll see you Sunday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. Good night, YouTube.